So, welcome, folks, to another Digital Transformation Lab podcast. This is one of our podcasts on the customer success series, but today we're talking about customer experience. And I'm delighted to have Jeff Sheehan, who is the author of the Customer Experience Field Manual. The Customer Experience Management Field Manual. And Jeff was also recently voted one of the top 25 influencers in 2022 for customer experience by CXM magazine. So Jeff, congratulations on that recent award and welcome to the podcast. Really delighted to have you here today.
Darragh, thanks so much. I appreciate the invitation, and I know we've talked a little bit. It's been fun, and I really appreciate the intro and this opportunity.
Excellent. So Jeff, like I always do, I guess the first thing I ask guests on the show, if they can just maybe tell us a little bit about themselves and their career and anything they'd like to share about themselves personally as well.
Yeah, so thank you for that. Personally, career-wise, geez, I was writing something yesterday and I did the math, and I've been working professionally for 36 years. 36 years, man. Jeez.
You're wearing it well, Jeff. You're wearing it well.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm fishing for that. Thank you. No, I just realized, because inside yourself, there's this younger version that remembers doing all these fun things that, not too long ago. But then when you do the math, as I did on the page, and you see 36. But I've been involved in customer service jobs my entire working life, whether it was in food service or grocery stores or retail stores, all the way through my last, 25 or more years, where I've been in the IT services realm and in customer services global customer services organizations that support business to business and business to consumer customers. So I love customer service, and I'm steeped in a career that's got service operations, service delivery, service management, big data and analytics, business development and sales, management consulting. So I had this nice sort of spectrum of experiences that translates really, really well, I think, to today's customer experience management discussions. And something personal. I'm an American living in Ireland for the last 3.5 years, enjoying that. 2 of those years, unfortunately, interrupted by had COVID interrupt us for the last 2, which is opening up as officially like today, the 28th of February, right? No more masks, and you can go to the pubs, and I think we'll have a proper St. Paddy's Day this year. But yeah, so there's that, and the other thing is, I guess what I say, I love to play the drums. I played the drums just for a hobby, and the louder and noisier, the better I feel. Nobody else likes it, but I love it. And I taught myself how to play, and it had everything to do with being a helicopter pilot in the military, where, to control a helicopter, your hands and feet do separate work at the same time. And it's the same idea with drumming, right? Your hands and your feet are doing different jobs all at the same time. So I just sat at a drum kit one day years and years ago and was able to figure it out. So I sort of attribute that to my pilot training or something. But yeah, that would be my little personal thing, I suppose.
Whoa, that's very cool. Actually, I didn't realize you were a helicopter pilot in the military. That's very cool.
Yeah, so I joined the military. I joined the U.S. Army in large part because it would pay for school. So it paid for my university education, and then I graduated, got my commission, and was spent 10 years on active duty as an officer and a helicopter pilot. So they pay you extra to fly, which I thought, look, I would pay the government for the job that I had. It was a lot of fun, and it was again, you think about 36 years of professional work. That was such a long time ago. If I see pictures of myself as a pilot in the Army, I'm a child. I'm just a kid. I can't believe they let me do all the stuff they let me do.
Excellent. Well, that's very, very cool. That's very cool. Jeff, one of the reasons I've been really looking forward to speaking to you today was, like you're steeped in all this experience that you have in customer experience. And I've been talking to a lot of people about customer success, and I kind of hear the terms customer experience and customer success often used interchangeably. And customer support comes in there. Sometimes it's hard to delineate which is which, and I'd love to kind of get your views on that, what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah, you're right. It is, you can get as many definitions for those customer experience management and customer success management terms as the number of people you ask, right? So, but also speak broadly, customer experience management is that sort of umbrella that encompasses all the interactions with an organization would have with its intended marketplace. So sales, customer success, support, product management, complaints departments, branches and stores, resellers, agents, and other channels, mobile apps, websites. All of those things come under the general customer experience management umbrella, because what customer experience management really is making sure that your customers come to you for the reasons that you've created awareness and attracted them, and that they actually get the experience that you've advertised. So if you're a fast food restaurant, your food was delivered quickly. If you're a luxury brand, it's a high quality experience and a high quality product and so forth. And I think customer experience management, in its most broadly defined definition, that's a bit double speak there, but it's just sort of orchestrating how the organization delivers on its mission, vision, values, its business strategy, and its brand promises to its intended customers, right? So you mentioned customer success, and I would say customer success is under that umbrella.
Right.
And part of customer success might be onboarding. And before you onboard somebody, you've got to sell them. And before you sell them, they have to be advertised. They have to know that you exist and figure out, why you might be a good fit and so forth. So all of those things are part of an experience, a journey, as we say, that customers go from, becoming aware all the way through, repeat purchases, telling two friends, to buy because it's a great brand, or not. And so that would be my really high level definition of what customer experience management is and what it does.
Sounds like it permeates just every part of the organization. It's not like a siloed activity. It's right throughout who you are and everything that you do. Is it?
Well, this is, sorry, I just want to say, because you touched on two really important points. There is the intention of customer experience management, and then there's the actual reality of it. So you mentioned the word silo. So one of the reasons customer experience management is very important is, organizations are built in silos. You have a billing department, you have a sales department, you have a marketing department, and so forth. And and then when you go below that and you look at databases, you might have a database in contracts for your customers, and a database in support for your customers, and a CRM for your sales force, and a marketing platform but they may not be connected. They may be all little islands, lakes, and silos of data. So one of the other missions of CX management is to bridge silos, to help the organization behave the way customers want it to behave, which is like, I called you for help, and you tell me, oh, that's not my department, you got to call a different number. That just is so annoying, right? And then you have to hang up and call again and wait in line and all that kind of thing. And I think the other thing is about CX management is it's widely regarded more and more as time goes on, but especially today, and increasingly more realized that the way to compete, one of the best ways to compete, one of the only ways to differentiate, is with that customer experience, what you offer, customers, and making it as good an experience in terms of what customers expect and what you deliver as you can. That's pretty much like the last frontier to really pursue differentiation and competitive advantage.
And with that kind of broad umbrella approach with it being in every, and connecting everything together. Who's responsible in the organization for that? Who's responsible for customer experience?
Well, I think the short answer is everyone is, from the C-suite in terms of the leadership team, understanding the mission, vision, values, the business strategy, and the brand promises, and really sort of orienting the rest of the culture of the organization onto how important customers are. And we know just as consumers that there are organizations that do look after you as a customer and respect you and honor you and are focused on, being what you need them to be because you've come to that brand for a reason. And then there are organizations that are not that focused on customers. They're focused on internal operations. They're focused on compliance and legal stuff. They're not focused so much on enriching the lives of their customers. They're sort of pure internally focused business operations. So the overall responsibility, and you can appreciate marketing has to communicate a message about the brand. Sales is the face-to-face or voice-to-voice interaction where the brand goes out into the marketplace and engages people to become a customer. And then all the other agencies inside an organization that support customers, whether it's invoicing, contracting, onboarding, good grief, complaints, escalations, et cetera, right? You can go down the line. Everyone who interacts with customers, and even if it's like, I look at billing, for example. Billing is one of the most comprehensive interactions with customers. If I'm a gigantic telco and I send bills out to everybody, whether it's paper mail or email or text message, push notifications, I'm talking to every customer every month. That's a pretty significant customer experience dimension to manage. And, a lot of people get that wrong because bills could be confusing. They can have inaccuracies. They can have wrong addresses. They can have things you don't understand. You don't know what that charge is for, and so that causes phone calls, and those phone calls can be treated efficiently, or they can be another source of friction, and customers get upset. And just that alone could be a reason for a customer to leave you or stay. Right? It just depends on how you treat them. So. Long answer, but you'll read a lot and you'll hear a lot that everyone's responsible for customer experience management. But what that really means operationally is there's a leadership element to it. Set the stage in terms of the organization's mission, vision, values, brand promises, business strategy, and then the culture, which is pretty much a huge leadership responsibility. And then there's all the other interactions with customers, whether you're face-to-face or voice-to-voice, or even just behind the scenes. So it's a very broad responsibility, but of course, like anything else in an organization, there's a leadership responsibility to acknowledge what customers mean to that organization.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Is it like, so I was going to ask a question then around where does it sit within the organization? If I understand correctly, it's at the board level, it's at the C-suite level. Are they the owners to permeate that message down to ensure that those mission values is developing the right culture?
I think that's part of it. So there is a board level and a lot of organizations that are realizing that their main way of competing and differentiating is with customer experience management. And so acknowledging that and then sort of distilling it down to the ranks is part of the responsibility. But CX management resides in so many different parts of an organization. It's just going to be one of those things where it depends on which organization you talk to. In a lot of places, it sits with marketing. In other places, it sits with operations, the contact center or the digital innovation hub or something like that. And in other places, it is a design function that's part of the user experience and product management function. So you'll find customer experience management leadership either dispersed and decentralized or centralized. And sometimes there's a chief customer officer role that is the sort of executive level responsible for the overall CX management program. But again, it's just going to vary from one organization to another.
Yeah. What, Jeff, why is it like I seem to hear so much about customer experience today? Certainly in the last couple of years, it's at the forefront of everything, even on job sites. They're looking for people in customer experience, and it's why is it so prevalent now? Why are we hearing so much about it today?
I think that's a great question, and I go back to being in this business for over 25 years, where I can remember, and I was in service. I was in the global services divisions, business units of product-centered companies, right? So companies that made servers, for example, computers, and they would go to market with speeds and availability. You know how fail-safe the machinery was, and service was sort of an afterthought. But service was always the sticky profit center, right? I remember in one organization I worked at, it was a $6 billion global company. It had offices in 120 countries, and 6 billion in revenue, 3 billion out of the services group, and 5 business units, 3 billion out of the services group, and nearly all the profit came out of the services division. And the reason was that's where the relationships existed. So product would go out the door from a transactional sale, but the life cycle support and customer relationship was managed largely by the services folks. So I think that realization has shifted to now anything is as a service. People's companies' operating models are now as a service, whether it's software or business process outsourcing. You can do, back office bookkeeping and tax preparation as a service. Pretty much everything's as a service, right? So that means it's a subscription model. That means you've got to have recurring revenue. That means you've got to stay in touch with your customers. How do you do that? How do you keep, where customer acquisition is relatively easy with the as a service model? How do you keep customers? And customer experience management is really that best way, because so much is commoditized in terms of products and offerings and things like that, that it's really about experiences. And I think customers have shifted too, where I don't know if it's chicken egg, if the customers drove this shift, or if the business model shifted and customers kind of realize they have a lot of power as customers to go wherever they want to bank, or to order groceries, or to buy clothes online. So I think that's one of the things as well that COVID and the quarantines around the world have accelerated, is people have gone to digital channels, and it's pretty easy to abandon a shopping cart from the comfort of your computer and go to somewhere else where you could buy clothing or shoes or whatever. And I think those realities have shoved customer experience management into the limelight that you're talking about, Darragh, that it is everywhere. It is talked about quite a bit. And I think there's another dimension as well, that like there's a lot of big companies that are talking about customer experience management because that's their market. That's the place that they sell their stuff into. And they've done a lot of great work with creating awareness and defining things and giving great examples of how CX management can enhance a business. But that's all as part of their go-to-market to create an awareness so people buy, their platforms. And I
Yeah.
don't mean to sound cynical with that. I just mean it's if you look, for example, at Qualtrics and Medallia, two of the biggest CX technology platforms in the world, they drive a lot of great conversation, but it's not for charity. It's to create awareness of their platforms and what they can do for business. But I think they've enhanced the volume and the quantity and quality of conversation around CX.
Mm. That actually that kind of piece about, I guess, about technology, and we're going through, digital transformation is like, it's just a word I think all of us are hearing probably every day at this
Yeah.
point. And no doubt CX it's having a massive impact on customer experience as well. And you even talked a little bit about it there, about kind of the social aspect of it. How do you see how do you see this digital transformation? How do you see technology impacting on customer experience today, both from, I guess, from a delivery and from, why it's important, why it's more important for companies?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think the phrase digital transformation and what that represents, and customer experience transformation, I think they're intertwined, because, for example, COVID has made a lot of folks work from home. And if you're in a contact center, as you know, here in Ireland, there's quite a number of contact centers with a few hundred people in a room answering the phone, um, whether it's for Facebook or Google or whomever, right? Dell, Apple, um, they all had to work from home. And so now you had to use tools that are cloud-based. So your agents can be scheduled, can have access to customer information, can answer the calls, and you could route the calls and all that technology stuff. I think for a lot of businesses, that was very much accelerated, right? You went from a on-premise environment to work together to a very decentralized, distributed environment that requires cloud-based tools to do your work. And I think a lot of businesses accelerated their digital transformation programs to meet the needs of the quarantine environment. But then there's things like I mentioned earlier, data. You've got so many little silos of data. How do you get a single version of a customer? How do you call up your insurance company, for example, Darragh, and they know that you've got pet insurance, car insurance for your 25-year-old, that you've got 2 life insurance policies. Like, a lot of insurance companies don't know you that way. They know you. The life insurance guys know you have a policy or 2, and then they transfer you to the car insurance, and they know you've got a policy or 2, and they know your driving record, and then they send you over to, let's say, pet insurance because you got 2 rescue dogs that you want to look after. And so, but you're not seen holistically as, oh, this is Darragh O'Riordan who's got all these products with us and so forth. And I think that's a huge part of a CX/digital transformation, is to start to see customers holistically. It's way easier said than done. I mean, because you're in many industries dealing with legacy applications, legacy infrastructure, so on and so on. But I think the move towards that is what we're going to see as sort of the underpinning of a more personalized customer experience, where the data about you as a customer will be unified in a way to create a picture of who you are, what you buy, why you buy, and why you come to this organization, what we do, what purpose we serve in your life. I think the more mature industries are moving towards that kind of customer experience management.
Yeah, that's the really, as you're talking there, it's just I'm thinking about different experiences I've had with companies, and not only in terms of calling into a company and they seem to know everything about me, and it's so easy. It's just so easy to talk to a company like that who's providing you with a service. And I've also had experience in working with companies where you have these, whether you're acquired a company, you have this kind of legacy baggage where you call a customer and say, hey, have you heard about this? They say, well, yeah, we already have it. How come you don't know? It's pulling that data together. I guess it sounds like it should be easy, but it's obviously not. It's obviously not for companies today.
It isn't. And one of the reasons it's so important is just your story is a perfect example of how, like, if you've been doing business with a bank, for example, and I know in Ireland, generally the Irish consumer doesn't change banks very frequently. Even if service is terrible, you'll stay with that bank. There's a lot of research to support that. But after like 20 years with an organization as a customer, you kind of expect someone to know who you are. And it makes you feel like your loyalty is misplaced when you're treated like a total stranger every time you call. So, one of the main reasons to do all this digital transformation to support a customer experience isn't solely to personalize it and sell you more, but it's to make sure that you're recognized as a person whose loyalty is valued by the organization, because that makes you feel better. I've done business with as an example, with a credit union in Alabama since 1986, so long time. I won't leave them because they're brilliant every time. And I've called them maybe like 5 times in the last 20 years. But when I call, it's Mr. Sheehan, nice to hear from you. It's very pleasant. It's very personal. And it says amazing things about their culture and their approach to doing things. But then I've called a telco where I had been a customer for a long, long time. And you get treated like a total stranger every time you call. There's no record of you when you started as a customer, or how much you spent, or any of that stuff. So you just get treated like like everybody else. And so there's no loyalty, there's no sense of loyalty, there's no emotional connection, there's no bond.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what the best CX management programs accomplish, is a bond between the brand and the experience that customers have with at any particular touch point.
Yeah.
Um, and whether it's grocery stores that personalize the coupons. I don't need to buy diapers,
Yeah.
so don't send me a coupon about diapers. Send me a coupon about I don't know, whiskey or something, that or a voucher. But yeah, that kind of personalization doesn't have to be creepy. It could just sort of acknowledge that,
Yeah.
oh, you've done business with us, and this is what we know about you because you told us, and here's how we think we can serve you. I think that's the ultimate goal of any CX management program.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very cool. Do you reckon can companies get away without kind of digitally transforming today? Do they have to get on the boat?
I think for a lot of small businesses, the answer is yes. I think, you walk into shops anywhere, US, Ireland, anywhere. And there's like here, for example, I love Kilkenny shops. When I go to Kilkenny shops here in Ireland, the people are very pleasant. It's a very clean, bright place, very pleasant. The energy is very positive. You get asked if, somebody said, can I help you? And things like that. And it's just very pleasant. Or you want to try something or return. Everybody is super pleasant. And clearly, there's a culture of customer first. And I've gone to a grocery store, a large grocery store chain, and I tried to find, a huge store. And I'm the guy, I shop like a guy. Like, I don't want to wander around the store. I want to go right to where my stuff is, get it, and get out. And I was at this big store, and I asked the guy who's stocking shelves, he had his back to me. And I said, excuse me. And he wouldn't turn around. And so I said, look, would you turn around and talk to me? I was like, maybe I'm just a grumpy American, I don't know, but like he had his back turned to me, and that was like he couldn't be bothered. He was stacking his shelf. Like that was his job. His job wasn't customer service, and I think that's backwards. So there are people who understand they're there for customers, and there's a culture that supports that. And then there's other cultures that think, well, my job is to stack shelves or to slide stuff across the scanner. It's not really to deal with you as a person. That I don't get paid, And so that culture is it's palpable. I mean, you feel it. You know where people care, and you know where they don't. And I think for small businesses, that kind of caring, concern, and the way your people, treat their customers is hugely important because you're a small business. Bigger businesses, they have things like scripts and codes of conduct, and different, sort of structured, maybe more institutionalized methods to manage culture. But yeah, I mean, those are some of the ways to do that.
Yeah. So it's about it's about creating the culture. You don't necessarily need all that digital technology. It's just about, training your folks, training your employees to interact with people in a certain way. Just it's almost just be nice, and be helpful. That's really all you have to do.
Well, I think there is an element of training that's super important,
Yeah.
but I also think hiring is important too. So if you're gonna, if you're hiring for salespeople, you want people that have a certain kind of gregariousness and sociability and agreeableness, that can get along with people in a way that wants people to want to talk to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't be this aggressive bulldozer personality in sales for too long. um, or maybe you can, and it just depends on, maybe you're selling bulldozers and that's what it takes. Um, but the same with agents, and
Yeah.
you just think about like folks that are face to face, voice to voice with real people. When I worked at Apple, for example, I had one day there was an experience where a woman, very professionally dressed woman, walked into the store and started to slowly get emotional and then burst into tears. And her phone was broken. Now, just for a moment, you think, okay, this is a store in a mall that sells consumer electronics. This woman is a mature, woman in her 30s maybe, and a professional, total stranger, and just starts crying to me, a total stranger. I thought, well, what's going on here? And it turned out that in her phone were the last voice messages from her father who had passed away. So it wasn't the device that was significant to her. It was the memory of her father. And if you can empathize with that, then you're no longer a store in a mall that sells consumer electronics. You're an organization that's enriching lives of people, real people. And the end of the story was, she got help. All of her data was preserved. It was put on a new device, and she walked out very happy. She beelined it to me before she left the store to say thank you. She actually hugged me, right? So like,
Wow.
you're no longer just a store in a mall selling consumer electronics. You are enriching lives, and that's a great example of what customer experience management could be if you handle it well. And I love that story. It's a very emotional story, and I wouldn't believe it if I hadn't been in the middle of it. But it really happened, and I was. It was one of the reasons I wanted to work at Apple, by the way. It was to see how they did that. What's the secret sauce? What's behind the curtain? And it turns out it's a culture built around this corporate idea that Apple enriches lives. It isn't just selling commodity consumer electronics; it's enriching lives. And by God, they deliver. It was pretty amazing.
I don't think I've heard. I love it. I love it. I mean, if you just said customer experience is we're just here to enrich the lives of our customers. I mean, it's almost your goal, your mission. It sounds excellent. I love it. It's a great story too. It kind of brings home, what's really important. Jeff, I know we're after going a little bit over time, so I appreciate the extra few minutes you've given me there. Before we go, can you tell us? I'm going to mention your book again, the Customer Experience Management Field Manual, which is a good read. Everyone should get it. It's a template for how you can go about setting up your CX organization. Is there anywhere else, Jeff, that we can send people? Any place you would recommend for people to go and learn more about customer experience management?
Oh my gosh, there's so many places to go, and there's just incredible amounts of information. It's just free and really good stuff. There's a chapter in my book. I call it "The Legion of Merit." Is the name of the chapter in the book, where it lists a lot of free resources for customer experience professionals to go, and it could be articles, templates, further explanations of certain things, because there's a lot of references in the book about sort of root cause analysis, and so there's some other resources there for that kind of topic. And thank you for mentioning the book. It is, I think, it was written to be a user desktop reference. So if you're in a customer experience leadership role, you can open it up to any page or any chapter and kind of look at what the ideas and frameworks are on offer, so that you can apply them and shape them to suit your situation. So thanks for mentioning that. But I went to great lengths to add resources to the book, because there are so many terrific resources for folks to use.
Excellent. Jeff, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. I know you and I have spoken on a few occasions, and I could keep talking. It's lucky we have a time limit set, because I could keep talking, because I think you've given me so many fascinating insights, really, really useful, practical insights into customer experience, and of course, many more in your book. But I'd just like to thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you again sometime soon, hopefully in person sometime soon.
Oh, indeed. Yeah. Darragh, thanks so much. The pleasure's all mine. I really, and of course, the Irish are known for the gift of gab. So good. Who knows how long this could go if we if we were unrestrained. But thank you so much for the opportunity. I've thoroughly enjoyed every one of our chats, and we absolutely, now that today's the official Freedom Day, we'll have to get together for a pint or two or whatever.